Assalamu alaikum. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وبعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. Respected brothers and sisters, viewers, those who join us, we would like for you to this spring in which we will a great man of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and remembering the awliya indeed is a means of blessings, to gain blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amongst those awliya, we have a man of Allah who spent all his life teaching for 50 years, produced teachers, masters of their sciences, produced muftis, and many big personalities. That is none other than our teacher, Salaf, Allama, Ghulam Muhammad, Tonswi bin rahimahullah ta'ala wa radiya anhu. Alhamdulillah, we have my friend Sheikh will inshallah be shedding light on the life of and his works of Sayyidina Ustad, and also sharing with us his experiences with Sayyidina Ustad. And I'm fortunate, alhamdulillah, upon our request, that we are joined with the son of Ustad Maulana Muhammad Ismail, inshallah. At the end, we will ask him to do the research he will have, and inshallah. Shall we start the tradition Quran? For this, I'd like to request our brother Maulana Zamir Ahmed to inshallah make the creation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. لا يستوي أصحاب النار النار وأصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khairan, alhamdulillah, very beautiful, beautifully recited by Maulana Zamir Ahmad. Inshallah, just before we move on, just one thing I would like to share with yourselves about, just to introduce slightly the background of Hazrat Maulana Sayyidina al-Ustad, that as many of us know, and we have many students who alhamdulillah join us, and we welcome yourselves, that our way, our way in Wasani, we go back, and the way of study is from the school of Bandiyal, and the school of Bandiyal, which was famously, when you say Bandiyal, everyone should refer to Muhammad Bandiyalwi, Rahmah Ta'ala, of Khairati school. يعني major scholars we have رحمهم الله. Allama Muhammad Sahib the heir to the of the way the Nabi school from many thousands and thousands of we see that the most famous of those students who Muhammad himself, who was is none other than demise towards the they asked him to himself directly on there. But if there's anyone who is now working according to my mission and on my mission, that is Maulana Muhammad. So this Ustad, alhamdulillah, without further ado, I would like to request Sheikh Adnan Raja Sahib if he would please share his words about Maulana Ustad Sayyidina al-Ustad, and inshallah ta'ala share with us experiences. Sheikh Muhammad Adnan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Firstly and foremost, I would like to thank Mufti Abdul Qadir and Maulana Ismail, the son of our late Ustaz Sahib, rahimahullah ta'ala, for allowing me and inviting me to participate and contribute something small to the great legacy of our late teacher, His Eminence Allama Ghulam Muhammad Tonswi, rahimahullah ta'ala, wa radiya an, wa qaddasallahu sirrah. The audio wasn't so clear on my end, so I'm not entirely sure of what has been mentioned, but there's so much to speak about this individual, but to truly understand who he is. And I'm not talking about the details of his family life and his background, his scholarly achievements, because these are details which will certainly tell you about who he is. This is information about him, but to truly understand what nature he held and what kind of a person he was, you really have to speak to people who were around him and ask them of their personal experience. And so when I was thinking about what to speak about and how to introduce our late teacher, rahmahullah, to all of you who have tuned in, I thought it's best not for me to focus on formal details, but today, inshallah, let the heart speak, and let's see where the heart takes us, inshallah, because one of the greatest calamities that can befall a nation of people, whether it's human beings at large or whether it's Muslims specifically, is the death of the prophets, first and foremost, and thereafter the passing away of their heirs, the passing away of their inheritors, who are none but the ulama, the scholars. There's a very famous hadith in this regard, which I'm sure all of you have heard many times. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. Al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. Only the scholars are the heirs. They're the inheritors of Allah's Messenger ﷺ, and they are the heirs of all the other prophets who came before him. When we speak about this inheritance, what exactly are we speaking about? It's clearly not wealth, because the Prophet ﷺ himself clearly stated that the inheritance that we leave behind is not material, it's not wealth, it's not gold or silver. So what is the inheritance? It is knowledge. But when we speak of knowledge, is that what type of knowledge is the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ? Is it simply the sentences recorded in a book, or is it something deeper than that? And of course, the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ is deeper than fiqh, and it's deeper than theology and the study of Aqidah. It's deeper than the study of understanding the Arabic language and Islamic and Arabic stylistics and balagha. It's far deeper than that. The Prophet ﷺ came with this type of knowledge, but more importantly, he came with a spiritual state. He came to this earth with a character, the most perfect character that human civilization has ever seen. And this is a part of his legacy, a part of his inheritance. And the true ulama are not just the people who memorize a lot of facts or who have necessarily spent a decade or so in a formal learning environment, but the true heirs of the Prophet ﷺ are those people who combined that knowledge, that outward knowledge, the knowledge of fiqh, hadith, tafsir, Quran, and they combine that with the Muhammadan character. They combine this outward knowledge with a deep and intimate relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They combined it with al-akhlaq al-Muhammadiyya, with the Muhammadan traits, the traits of humility, the traits of fearing Allah, the traits of serving humanity, of serving people, the trait of wanting good for people, the quality of utter sacrifice. And what my experience was with our late Ustaz Sahib, rahimahullah ta'ala, and I believe Mufti Abdul Qadir will agree, this was the experience of anyone who came into his circles. Our experience of him was not just that he was Ustad al-Ulama, a person who, upon whose hands thousands, not hundreds, thousands of graduates from the seminaries in Pakistan graduated at his hands. Not just that, despite that achievement, despite that he studied the entire original curriculum of Islamic scholarship 2 times over, besides him having memorized the entire curriculum, all of the textbooks that are taught in the traditional programs of Islamic studies, he memorized these texts. They weren't just books that he would teach, these texts became a part of who he was, a part of his character. But leave that aside also, not just these achievements, these scholarly achievements, but what really enamored us, all of the people who met him and all of the students around him, was his character, this legacy of spirituality, and the state that this man carried with him naturally pulled people towards him. So when we speak about the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the first things that comes to mind is the mercy which Allah's Messenger embodied. I can relate a story to you of our Ustaz Sahib, and you see how he was a pinnacle amongst people, a true embodiment of the prophetic mercy. When he passed away, one of his contemporaries shared this anecdote with us, and many of us heard it. Post creation of Pakistan, in the early period when Ustaz Sahib was studying and he was a student, as Mufti Sahib mentioned, in Bandial Sharif, there was a great level of economical deprivation that hit the nation. It was a newly found country. You can imagine the state that people were in. This was a time when Pakistan was created and the education department and the civil departments didn't even have stationery. So you can imagine the state that the general populace was living in. In this state, the Islamic seminaries were also forced to, they were also suffering at the hands of this economic deprivation in the country. In that state, when students went to study in Bandial Sharif, now we have, alhamdulillah, so many top-class seminaries here, right in the UK. But we're talking about the 50s and the 60s at that time in Pakistan, in Bandial Sharif. The students who would go there to study would not be given a 4-walled room for accommodation. What they were given was a piece of land, which big Ustaz Ata Muhammad, rahimahullah, gave each student a piece of land, small piece of land where they could sleep, and those were their living quarters, so to speak. And Ustaz Sahib was also one of those students who was given this small space. In that time of economic depravity, when Madaris were struggling to provide food for their students, our Ustaz Sahib at that time used his personal space of land to harvest whatever vegetables he could harvest, and then he would grow the seeds, and when that vegetable would be produced, when it would ripen, he would use that to cook food for his fellow students. This was the mercy and the level of khidmah and servitude that this person had in his days as a student. As a result, we see that Allah Ta'ala made him from that young student to Ustadul Ulama later on in his life. But this is the mercy that he had. If we speak of humility, and this is the character of our late teacher, which really stood out for me more than anything. And I'm saying that despite his great level of learning, and because I never met anyone like him in terms of learning, really. I've never contacted anyone, been in touch with anyone who embodied Islamic scholarship and epitomized the Islamic scholarly tradition the way this individual did. But besides that, his humility, although he was hailed as a scholar in Pakistan and people flocked to him when he would begin new classes. I was told by one of his contemporaries that when Ustaz Sahib would start a new class, 300, 400, 500 students would attend his classes. This is the reputation he had in Pakistan. Yet that never swayed him from the prophetic path and tradition of humility. His clothing was simple. His speech, he preferred to stay silent. I remember many a times different scholars and students, like Sheikh Yasin, for example, once they came to visit Ustaz Sahib, and they would ask these really intricate questions of theology, sometimes of fiqh, and Ustaz Sahib would not answer those questions. He would say, go and ask a specialist. He would defer them to someone else. He wouldn't sit there and demonstrate his knowledge, although those questions for us may have been some of the most difficult questions that we can face. But for him, it was really easy to delve into the details of those intricate matters. Yet he preferred silence. And when we would sit with him, I remember I would try to often sometimes speak to him about scholarly issues. When you're a young student, the only thing on your mind is, it should be on your mind, is reading and text and all these formal studies. He wouldn't participate in that. He would like to speak about other things. He would tell us anecdotes about his contemporaries, his own personal experiences. And whenever we would have these close gatherings with him outside the classroom environment, that's when you really saw the humility in him. He would take off his skull cap, sit down, and if a person who didn't know him walked in, they would think this is just an elderly man who's sitting on a bed or sitting on a chair. But if he heard Ustaz Sahib speaking during the class, he would think this is the Ghazali of the time. Really, so you can imagine how he carried himself. When he would walk in the streets, I would see him walking from his accommodation to the masjid. And let me tell you, when he would go to the masjid to pray, he would be the first one there, and he would be the last one to come out. When he would walk, he would walk with complete humility, with his head bowed forward, exactly as we see the description of the Prophet ﷺ, walking gracefully on Allah's earth with humility, despite the vast treasury of knowledge that was stored in his heart. He would walk with a slight bow to his head, just like Allah's messenger, just as a rose tilts slightly forward on the stem when it bloomed, just like that, gracefully walk to the masjid, not expecting any special treatment, not expecting any protocol, but rather he would prefer to just be left to his own works. We're in Ramadan now. I had the pleasure and the honor of serving him in Ramadan for the entire Ramadan, the first Ramadan that he spent in the UK, and I was tasked with preparing his iftar meal, and then I spent 30 Ramadans with him, 30 fasts with him. I spent 30 fasts with him, where we made iftar. It was just me and him. It was a very unique opportunity to see him outside the classroom environment. And I remember that Mufti Abdul Qadir in those days, so I would bring the iftar meal and Mufti Abdul Qadir would bring the suhoor meal. And it was a great pleasure for both of us, a great honor for both of us to do that. And so I would go every day and he would tell me which foods he prefers. And let me tell you from that experience what I saw in him. I'm still talking about his humility and his simplicity. He would, at iftar time, we would break the fast, the few dates. He wouldn't drink anything, and he would eat literally 2 or 3 morsels, 4 morsels of food. I saw this every single day, and for me, I would, I was fasting, I was hungry, I wanted to eat more. But of course, when Ustaz would stop. I would have to stop, but literally would have four morsels and then stand to pray Maghrib, and then I would pray Maghrib with him, and he would not eat again. And I offered him, I said to him, Ustaz, we can, I can prepare at home for you this and that. And he just wasn't interested in, a grand variety of food. He preferred, most of the time, he asked me to just bring some boiled rice for him, very simple food, or some very simple foods, and we would have those four morsels together. And then what would we do for the rest of the time till Tarawih? He would tell me anecdotes. Not a single sitting with him was void of lessons or void of some sort of anecdote which had a deep moral to it, or some sort of nasiha. He advised us the way a father advises his children. And this is exactly what we see with the Prophet ﷺ. When he would sit with the Sahaba say that when we would come and sit with Allah's Messenger ﷺ, who would make us feel so special that when we would leave, we would think that I am the closest person to the Prophet ﷺ. He would not make you feel any other way. And this is how you would feel if you sat with our teacher, rahimahullah ta'ala. He would make you feel like you are the closest person to him, and he would give nasiha, he would give advice, he would provide admonishment, he would provide to us vast amounts of wisdom based on his vast experience, things which we cannot learn from textbooks. And he would advise us the way a father advises his son. A lot of the discussions were private and personal, but there were, alhamdulillah, a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I could highlight my time with him, studying with him and sitting with him across a 2-year period, the highlight was of 30 days. Those 30 days taught me more than I think what the rest of the time taught me. And what I availed in those 30 days was much more. And this was because of his generosity and his humility. I say that he would advise us the way a father advises a son. You see, with the Prophet ﷺ, when he would sit with the Sahaba, he would not differentiate between them. So we know that on one occasion, for example, Allah's Messenger was with Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, and another companion came. I don't recall his name, but another companion, it might have been Sayyidina Abu Bakr, I'm not sure. And then when this companion came, the Prophet ﷺ made this companion sit in next to him. And this companion was not a family member, Sayyidina Ali was a family member, but what Allah's Messenger did not do was distinguish between them. He didn't give preferential treatment to anyone. And what I found, and Maulana Ismail is with us and he'll confirm this, inshallah, what I found was when we were sitting in class, even if his son came in, we were all his sons, alhamdulillah, but I mean his actual blood son, Maulana Ismail, who was with us, when he would come in, he would not be given preferential treatment. Everyone was treated equally in that gathering. And it wasn't even like Ustaza was trying, it was just very natural to him. He taught everyone equally. If we displayed or demonstrated some sort of shortcoming, maybe in our preparation of the class or in our conduct or in our lack of adab, he would admonish us. And if his son displayed anything like that, he would admonish him equally, and we were all equal before him. He did not give preferential treatment to anyone. And I found that to be so amazing, because it's really rare to see that level of sincerity to knowledge in this day and age. So it's gone half past. There's so much more I could share, but what I will finish off with is that when the Sahaba would describe the Prophet ﷺ in the Shama'il tradition, they would often finish off with this line. And this is what I would say about Ustaz Sahib, rahimahullah ta'ala. They would say, we did not see anyone like him before him or after him. And these are the sentiments that all of us students share about this great legendary scholar, our great Ustaz, our late Ustaz, rahimahullah ta'ala. We did not see anyone like him before him, and since he is passing away, we have not seen anyone or met anyone like him. in the end, I will request all of you to make a Fatiha for him with me, and then I think Ustaz Absan will share some words with us. Barakallahu feekum, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, Sheikh Adnan, I think would took me and Maulana Muhammad Ismail back many, many years. That was a big throwback. Allah Ta'ala reward him for sharing that with us. Just quickly, I will mention that Ustaz Sahib, Rahimahullah Ta'ala, just the thing that I learnt, we all learnt and we drank from the well. There were some things that we learnt from his akhlaq, as Sheikh Adnan Sahib was telling us. One thing was that timekeeping. Timekeeping, I learned from Maulana Sayyidina al-Ustadh. If anyone is coming out of his time, or if he's doing something which is in his routine, then you can have the Prime Minister of the country coming, or anyone. He's not moving for no one. You know, that was it. Subhanallah. It was. I remember that once when at the mornings his breakfast was yogurt, a plate of yogurt with I don't know what you call it in English, but it's called ismagol. He used to put on with a cup of tea. This was his breakfast, and the time he's going to do that is when he comes back from his morning. Is known as coconut husk and yogurt. He's coming from his morning exercise, which is approximately 1.5 hours, till the last day. He used to pace walk for for 1.5 hours, for 1.5 hours within the masjid and Sultan Bao Trust. And after that, he would come, and Maulana Harun Sahib, who used to always also study with Maulana Ghulam Sahib, used to make used to give his yogurt and his tea and his breakfast. And once one of our class fellows, another sheikh, he came and he asked, and this was rather when Ustadh was eating. So this was how he was in his routine, that the sheikh said to Ustadh, said to Ustadh that, Ustadh, can you give me some nasiha? Can you give me some nasiha? He said, I would give you nasiha if I wasn't eating. He goes, at the moment, I'm trying to eat. So if you let me eat, and I'll give you nasiha afterwards, inshallah ta'ala. So, and this how he was, like, if he's his routine, you cannot, you wouldn't be able to, yani, and alhamdulillah, this was. And we know for those who are married, they'll know that anyone who speaks, about who you are, and actually who you are your family, especially your wives. And we know that, and Maulana Muhammad Ismail Sahib will confirm that his blessed mother, Hafidahullah, confirmed, and we heard this through Maulana Muhammad Ismail, that she bear witness that, since that they were married, he never missed his tahajjud. Never missed his tahajjud. And saying, and our Shaykh was saying that, more than his ilm, and definitely, ilm is something very, very important, but the embodiment of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and then, his spirituality, it was second to none, by no doubt. And I know, the time is flying, and, inshallah ta'ala, we need to wrap up. I know a lot of people are thinking, is getting quite long because we have to make iftar as well. So without any further ado, inshallah, just last things I will announce, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, from the brothers and sisters, we have 8 Qur'ans, and we have 40 different or 41 different ajza from the Qur'an which have been recited, and we have approximately 5,000 salawat and many Surah Yasin, and many other salawat, Quran, ajza of the Quran, so Surah Yasin, adhkar, kalimat that people have been reciting. And we thank you all, inshallah. We pray that Allah Ta'ala accepts this from you. So without any further delay, inshallah Ta'ala, I would request Maulana Muhammad Ismail Sahib. Now, the reason why I'm not calling them Sahibzada Sahib, the reason, and they will confirm with you, the reason why I'm not calling them Sahibzada Sahib, because once I was driving, and this was after me and Ustaz went to Wales, because he wanted to go see the mountains. So we went to some mountain seeing, and I think there's a couple of days after that, that somebody said to Maulana Muhammad Ismail, and for us he is the Sahibzada Sahib, but the reason why I'm not saying it is that somebody said to him, and this is another alim, he said to him that, Sahibzada Sahib ka kya hal hai? Somebody said to Maulana Ismail Sahib, ay alim, that Sahibzada Sahib kya karte hain? And he looks at this alim and he says, which Sahibzada are you on about? And he said, Sahibzada Sahib here, Muhammad Ismail Sahib. And he said, look, I don't know of no Sahibzada Sahib. I named him Muhammad Ismail. His name is no Muhammad, Sahibzada Sahib. But for us, alhamdulillah, he's their son. So I would like to request Maulana Sahib if he can make dua as well, and just share a few words with us about his father. Bismillah.
على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين صدق الله العلي العظيم. आज सेकंड रमजान मुबारक है, और مفتی عبدالقدیر صاحب اور علامہ عدنان راجہ صاحب، ان کو اللہ تعالیٰ نے یہ توفیق دی کہ یہ اپنے استاد محترم کو اس موقع کے اوپر یاد رکھیں کہ جب اب ان حضرات کے بارے میں آج مولانا عبدالقدیر صاحب اور مولانا عدنان راجہ صاحب، تو یہ حضرات ہیں کہ جو میں بھی ان کے ساتھ ہی پڑھتا رہا ہوں، تو بہت سارے اسپیکٹس کے اوپر ان حضرات نے بات کی۔ اللہ تعالیٰ آپ کو جزا بھی عطا فرمائے جس طریقے سے آپ نے اس کو ارینج کیا۔ تو بہت سارے اسپیکٹس ہیں والد محترم کی لائف کے بارے میں بات کرنے کے حوالے سے، لیکن میں آج ان کی ایک ہی اسپیکٹ کے اوپر بات کروں گا اور کوشش کروں گا کہ اپنی گفتگو کو سمیٹوں۔ 3-4 واقعات جو کہ ایک جو اسپیکٹ ہے کہ انہوں نے اپنی زندگی میں ہر ایک کے ساتھ انصاف کیا، اب وہ اپنی فیملی والے تھے یا ان کے طلباء تھے، جن کا بھی ان سے واسطہ پڑا، جسٹس وہ چیز تھی، انصاف، جسٹس، کہ جو انہوں نے ہر ایک کے ساتھ جسٹس کے ساتھ پیش آئے۔ ایک انسان کی تو کوئی حیثیت نہیں ہے، ہم سب ہماری کوئی حیثیت نہیں ہے، لیکن اللہ تبارک و تعالیٰ قرآن پاک میں ارشاد فرماتا ہے کہ جس سے بھی اللہ تعالیٰ نے اچھائی کا ارادہ کیا تو اسے دین میں سمجھ بوجھ عطا فرمائی۔ تو جس خاندان سے ہم تعلق رکھتے ہیں وہ بلوچوں کا خاندان، جس میں علم دور دور تک ان کا کوئی واسطہ نہیں ہے، لیکن اللہ تعالیٰ نے والد محترم پہ ایک کرم کیا اور ان کو دین کی سمجھ بوجھ عطا فرمائی۔ تو آج جو میں جس اسپیکٹ کے حوالے سے بات کرنا چاہ رہا ہوں وہ انصاف ہے، کہ جب انسان دین سیکھتا ہے تو اس میں بہت ساری اچھائیاں آ جاتی ہیں، سب سے بڑی چیز اس میں انصاف کرنے کا طریقہ بھی آ جاتا ہے۔ تو حضرت نے ہر ایک کے ساتھ انصاف کیا، اور جس طرح مولانا عدنان صاحب بیان کر رہے تھے، طلباء کے ساتھ بھی بڑے انصاف کے ساتھ پیش آئے۔ تو میں بھی ان کا صاحبزادہ تھا، ان کا صاحبزادہ مجھے نہیں کہنا چاہیے، انہوں نے اس لفظ کو پسند نہیں کیا، تو میں ان کا بیٹا ہونے کے ناطے میں سمجھتا تھا کہ شاید جب میں کلاس میں بیٹھوں گا تو وہ مجھے ترجیح دیں گے، وہ مجھے پریورٹی دیں گے۔ حالانکہ مولانا عبدالقدیر صاحب، مولانا عدنان صاحب یہ بھی تھے، تو جب یہ کلاس میں انٹر ہوتے اور میں دل میں یہ سمجھ رہا ہوتا تھا کہ آج عبارت جو بھی علماء جو بھی اس پروسیس سے گزرتے ہیں، علم حاصل کرنے والے پروسیس سے، ان کی کوشش ہوتی ہے کہ وہ عبارت وہ پڑھیں تاکہ ان کی غلطیاں درست ہوں اور وہ جلد از جلد اپنے علم کے حصول کی منزل تک پہنچیں۔ میں سمجھتا تھا کہ چلو والد محترم استاد صاحب ہیں تو وہ مجھے کہیں گے کہ میں عبارت پڑھوں، لیکن حضرت میں کمال کا انصاف تھا۔ جب میں کلاس میں گیا تو میں سوچا کہ میں عبارت پڑھنا شروع کروں، تو حضرت کی عادت تھی جب بھی پڑھاتے تو سر نیچے ہوتا تھا، تو سر اوپر کر کے دیکھا تو کہتے تم نے سبق کی تیاری کی ہے مولانا؟ تو میں نے کہا نہیں حضرت۔ تو کہتے وال تیرا کوئی حق نہیں، تمہارا کوئی حق نہیں کہ تم عبارت پڑھو، مولانا تم عبارت پڑھو جو تیاری کر کے آئے ہیں۔ تو پھر مولانا عبدالقدیر صاحب کو کہا کہ تم عبارت پڑھو۔ تو یہ انصاف کا معیار ہے، اس میں یہ نہیں دیکھنا کہ اولاد پہلے ہے۔ میں نے بہت سارے دوسرے حضرات کو بھی دیکھا، لیکن ایک چیز جو انسان گھر سے سیکھتا ہے کہ کس طریقے سے پیش آنا ہے، تو اس طریقے عبارت میں بھی انصاف، یعنی کسی بھی طالب علم کا حق نہیں انہوں نے لیا۔ اور جو دوسرا واقعہ میرے پاس یہ دو مختصر سے ہیں کہ مولانا عبدالقدیر صاحب اور مولانا عدنان صاحب یہاں موجود ہیں، وہ بھی اس چیز کی میرے ساتھ جو ہے وہ تائید کریں گے۔ جب بھی حضرت کوئی بھی دین کا طالب علم، چاہے وہ سپارہ پڑھ رہا ہوتا یا جو بھی مدرسے میں ہوتا، تو حضرت ہمیشہ ہر ایک کو مولانا کہہ کر مخاطب کرتے، کبھی کسی کو نام لے کے نہیں پکارا کہ عبدالقدیر ادھر آؤ یا عدنان، مولانا۔ یہ بھی ایک جس طرح کے آپ علیہ الصلوۃ والسلام کی سنتوں میں سے ہے کہ کسی کو عزت دینا، تو کسی بھی طالب علم کو کبھی نام لے کر نہیں پکارا۔ تو یہ ان کے جس راستے پہ وہ تھے. عالم ہونا بڑی بات نہیں ہے, سب سے بڑی بات یہ ہے کہ انسان علم کے بعد اس کے اوپر عمل بھی کرے. تو ہر ایک کو وہ مولانا کہہ کر پکارتے تھے جو بھی طالب علم ہوتا. اور تیسرا جو میرے پاس, وہ میں نے ایک مرتبہ حضرت سے پوچھا کہ حضرت مطالعہ کر رہے تھے نور العزا. جو بھی حضرات درس نظامی سے تھوڑا بہت شروع رکھتے ہیں ان کو معلوم ہے کہ درس نور العزا ایک بنیادی کتاب ہے, اور وہ کتاب ہے کہ جو ایک عام شخص بھی بغیر مطالعے کے پڑھا سکتا ہے جو درس نظامی کے پروسیس سے گزرا ہو. تو حضرت 55 سال تک تجربہ اور وہ بڑی کتابیں پڑھانے کا, جس میں اس کے باوجود جب اگلے دن سبق پڑھانا تھا نور العزا کا تو حضرت مطالعہ کر رہے تھے. تو میں نے کہا حضرت آپ کو مطالعہ کرنے کی ضرورت تو نہیں ہے, یہ تو آسان سی کتاب ہے. تو حضرت نے جو کہا تو مجھے بڑی ہی حیرانگی ہوئی. کہتے کہ مولانا ان کے گھر والے ان کو بھیجتے ہیں کہ یہ وہاں پہ جا کر تعلیم حاصل کریں, تو اگر استاد ہی بغیر مطالعے کے پڑھائے اور اس طرح کی کوئی بات کہہ دے جو کہ پروو نہ کر سکے تو مولانا ان کا حق ضائع ہوتا ہے. تو یہ طلباء کے ساتھ زیادتی ہے کہ اگر کوئی استاد بغیر مطالعے کے ان کو سبق پڑھاتا ہے. تو یہ ایک انصاف تھا اپنی طلباء کے ساتھ. اللہ تبارک و تعالی سے دعا ہے کہ اللہ تعالی ان کی روح کو ان کی زندگی میں جو بھی وہ حضرت نے کام کیے اور ان کی روح کو اللہ تعالی آسانی عطا فرمائے اور ان کے درجات بلند فرمائے. جلد از جلد ہماری کوشش ہے, کیونکہ جتنے بھی حضرات ہیں یہاں پہ افطاری کا بندوبست ہے, تو آپ تمام احباب کا شکریہ جو آن لائن ہیں. جتنے بھی احباب نے قرآن پاک 8 قرآن پاک پیش کیے گئے اور 41 جز القرآن اور 5000 صلاۃ نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم, ان سب کو ہم آپ علیہ السلام کی خدمت اقدس میں پیش کرتے ہیں. رحیم و کریم مولا پروردگار عالم اپنی شان اس کا ثواب عطا فرما. یا اللہ آپ علیہ السلام کی بارگاہ میں اس کا ثواب پیش کرتے ہیں, قبول و منظور فرما. آپ علیہ السلام کے وسیلہ جلیلہ کے توفیل تمام انبیاء, تمام صحابہ, مسلمین مسلمان مؤمنین مؤمنات, ازواج مطہرات, خلفاء راشدین, عشرہ مبشرہ, تمام مسلمان غرض کے جو اس دنیا سے حالت ایمان میں رخصت ہوئے, بالخصوص حضور غوث پاک رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی بارگاہ میں اس کا ثواب پیش کرتے ہیں, قبول و منظور فرما. حضور غوث پاک رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کے توفیل تمام سلاسل کے بزرگوں کو اس کا ثواب پیش کرتے ہیں, قبول و منظور فرما. حضرت آدم علیہ السلام سے لے کر آج تک جو مسلمان اس دنیا سے حالت ایمان میں صحیح العقیدہ ہو کر رخصت ہوئے, سب کو اس کا ثواب پیش کرتے ہیں, قبول و منظور فرما. اے رحیم و کریم مولا پروردگار عالم, جن بھی احباب نے, مولانا عبدالقدیر صاحب نے, مولانا عدنان اور باقی جتنے احباب نے اس لائیو پروگرام کا بندوبست کیا, ان سب کو یا اللہ برکتیں عطا فرما. یا اللہ اس کے ثواب بالخصوص آپ علیہ السلام کے صلی اللہ کے توفیل حضرت علامہ غلام محمد تونسوی رحمۃ اللہ تعالی علیہ کی روح کو اصال ثواب کرتے ہیں, مولا قبول منظور فرما. یا اللہ حضرت کے درجات بلند فرما, روحانی تصرفات میں اضافہ عطا فرما. رحیم و کریم مولا پروردگار عالم, ہمیں ان کے لیے جو بھی کچھ قرآن پاک پڑھا اور مزید پڑھ کے انہیں بھیجنے کی توفیق عطا فرما. یا اللہ ہمیں دین متین کی خدمت کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرما. آمین. وآخر دعوانا الحمدللہ رب العالمین.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khairan. Very quickly, we thank everyone who participated in remembering Sayyidina al-Ustad. And I know time of iftar inshallah is very near, so I would just like to thank you again, and especially thank Maulana Muhammad Ismail Sahab and our Sheikh Adnan Raja Sahab and Maulana Zamir Sahab who made the recitation. We thank you all, and we make dua to Allah Ta'ala. Allah Ta'ala accepts all of your efforts and your recitations and your presence here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.